Somewhere right now in a salon chair, a woman just turned 60 and said the four words that quietly age her more than any wrinkle, any gray hair, or any line on her face ever could. Just cut it short, whatever's easy. And the stylist, without meaning any harm at all, without any malice whatsoever, gave her exactly what she asked for. Short, practical, tidy, easy to manage. And unfortunately, exactly the kind of cut that adds 10 years to her face the very second she looks in the mirror afterward, wondering quietly why she doesn't quite recognize herself. I want you to really sit with that for a moment because I think so many of us have lived some version of this exact story. We reach a certain age, we get tired of fussing, we tell our stylist to just make it simple, and we walk out with a haircut that technically fits the brief, easy, low-maintenance tidy but somehow leaves us feeling older than we did walking in. And because it happens so gradually, one appointment at a time over the years, most of us never quite connect the dots to realize it's the shape of the cut itself doing the damage, not our age, not our features, not anything actually wrong with us at all. Here's what almost nobody sits women down and tells them clearly. It was never actually about going short versus staying long. Let me say that again because it matters enormously. Short hair can look absolutely stunning on a woman in her 60s, 70s, and beyond. Long hair can look equally stunning. Neither length is inherently more youthful or more aging than the other. The real issue, the actual culprit behind so many disappointing salon visits, is something far more specific, something so small and so overlooked that most women, and honestly a fair number of stylists too, walk right past it without ever consciously noticing it happening. There is one particular cut, a shape so common it has essentially become the default option handed to women once they cross a certain age threshold, that does more quiet damage to how youthful you appear than a single gray hair ever could. Today, over the next half hour, I'm going to walk you through exactly what that cut is, why it works against a mature face specifically, the actual reasoning behind why it ages rather than flatters, and then I'm going to give you 6 genuinely different alternatives that do the complete opposite. Cuts that soften, lift, and frame the face beautifully, not through any magic product or expensive treatment, but through simple, deliberate choices in shape and structure that most women have simply never been shown or told about before in their entire lives. Stay with me through this whole video because we're going deep today, not just skimming past 6 quick style names. We're talking about why each one works, how to actually describe it to your stylist so you get exactly what you're picturing, and what to watch out for so you don't accidentally end up with a slightly wrong version of a good idea. Style number 4, when we get there, is the one hairstylists quietly recommend to their favorite, most trusted clients, and almost never bring up unprompted to anyone else. Welcome back to Elegant Beyond 60, the channel built entirely around one simple, unshakable idea, that looking beautiful after 60 was never about spending more money. It was always about knowing more information, the kind of information that isn't handed to us automatically as we age, the kind we genuinely have to go looking for ourselves, often after years of quietly wondering why something we used to feel confident about just doesn't work the same way anymore. If this is your very first time here, welcome, truly, I mean that with my whole heart. I'm so glad you found your way to us today because this topic right here is exactly the kind of thing this channel exists to talk about honestly. We believe you deserve real, useful guidance, explained clearly and respectfully, not vague generalities or advice clearly written for someone 20 years younger than you. And if you're one of our wonderful regulars settling in with your drink of choice right now, welcome back. You already know exactly how we do things around here. We take our time with topics that deserve it. We don't rush through 6 quick bullet points just to hit some arbitrary short video length and move on. When a subject genuinely benefits from real depth like today's most certainly does, we give it real depth, because you deserve to actually understand the reasoning behind what we're suggesting, not just memorize a list and hope it works out. Today we're spending real unhurried time on hairstyles, specifically the difference between a cut that quietly ages your face without you ever realizing it's happening, and cuts that do the complete opposite, cuts that lift, soften, and genuinely take years off your overall appearance. This conversation matters so deeply to me because so many women reach 60 and feel like they only have 2 real options left: keeping the exact same style they've had for decades out of pure habit, or going short and practical and simply calling it done, resigned to whatever that ends up looking like. Neither of those has to be true for you, and today, over the next 30 minutes, we're going to prove exactly why together in real detail. Before we settle in properly, if you're already curious about what that one aging cut actually is, do me a quick favor and tap that subscribe button right now before you get absorbed in everything coming up and forget. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it genuinely helps this small channel keep reaching more women exactly like you every single week. While your hand is already there, tap the like button too because it tells me precisely which topics matter most to you going forward, and it helps this exact video reach other women who need to hear it just as much as you do. Alright, get comfortable, because we have real meaningful ground to cover together today, and what I'm about to walk you through might genuinely change how you think about your very next haircut appointment. Let's start by really understanding the cut itself, the one so many women are handed without ever specifically asking for it by name, simply because it's what gets reached for automatically. It's the short, rounded, uniform layer cut, sometimes loosely called a bob but very often shorter than that, cut roughly the same length all the way around the entire head, with soft rounded edges and remarkably little variation in shape from the front of the face all the way around to the back of the neck. You have absolutely seen this cut 1,000 times on television, in salons, on women you know personally. It's tidy. It photographs fine in a passport photo. It's the cut hairdressers reach for almost on autopilot the moment a woman mentions she wants something a little easier to manage day to day. Here's the problem quietly hiding inside that convenience, and I want to explain the actual reasoning behind this clearly, because understanding why matters far more than just memorizing what to avoid. A uniform, rounded shape does something very specific to a face as it ages. As skin naturally loses a small amount of elasticity around the jaw and cheeks over the years, which is simply a normal part of getting older and nothing to feel any shame about whatsoever, a rounded, same-length all-around cut mirrors that natural softness instead of contrasting against it in any way. Think of it visually like this. If your jawline has softened slightly, and your haircut is also soft and rounded in exactly the same shape, there is nothing in the overall silhouette creating any structure or line to counterbalance that softness. The result is a look that echoes precisely the areas we'd actually prefer to visually lift and define, rather than offering any contrast at all. This reads to the eye, almost instantly and almost unconsciously, as heavier and older overall, even on a woman with genuinely beautiful, healthy, well-cared-for hair. It's not a reflection of her hair quality at all, it's purely a matter of shape and structure working against her rather than for her. I want to be very clear about something important here. This isn't about the cut being inherently bad, ugly, or wrong on its own terms. Plenty of younger women wear this exact shape beautifully. The issue is specifically that it was designed and popularized around convenience and low-maintenance styling, not around face shape or age-appropriate structure, and it gets handed out constantly as the default go-to option far too often, without anyone stopping to consider whether it's actually the right choice for the individual woman sitting in that chair. Once you genuinely understand why this specific shape can work against a mature face, the 6 alternative styles we're about to walk through together will make complete, intuitive sense, because each one solves this exact underlying problem in its own distinct way. Style number 1. The soft long bob with internal layers. This first alternative keeps a fairly similar overall length to that problem cut we just spent time discussing, and that's precisely why it's such a smart, gentle starting point for many women. It feels familiar, it feels low maintenance without carrying that same aging effect underneath the surface. The genuine difference here lies almost entirely in what happens on the inside of the cut, hidden beneath the outer layer that everyone actually sees at first glance. Rather than one uniform length throughout, cut identically from root to end, this version has thoughtful layers cut into the interior of the hair, essentially hidden beneath the surface layer, creating movement and natural lift without dramatically changing the outer silhouette that you see when you first look in the mirror. Those carefully placed internal layers do something genuinely remarkable for how the whole face reads visually. They create soft, natural movement specifically around the jawline instead of one heavy, static curtain of hair sitting flat and immobile against it all day long. That subtle movement draws the eye upward and outward in small, flattering, constantly shifting ways throughout your entire day. Every single time your hair moves as you turn your head, laugh, or simply walk from one room to another, rather than sitting frozen in one rigid shape from morning until night. It's genuinely the difference between hair that looks alive, responsive, and dimensional, versus hair that looks like it was carefully set in place first thing in the morning and simply never moved again for the rest of the day, which unfortunately reads as older and more static to the observing eye. If you want a simple, clear way to describe this specific request to your stylist without getting lost in confusing technical hairdressing terminology, simply say that you'd like the overall length to stay fairly similar to what you have now, but with movement and layers built in underneath the surface. Most experienced stylists will immediately and clearly understand exactly what you're asking for, with that one simple sentence. Style number 2. The side-swept fringe. A full blunt fringe cut in one straight, precise line directly across the forehead can absolutely be a wonderful, striking look on many women. But it does tend to draw one hard, static horizontal line right across the upper face, which on a mature face specifically, can sometimes visually shorten the forehead in a way that reads as aging rather than refreshing or youthful. The important fix here isn't avoiding a fringe altogether, since plenty of women genuinely look wonderful and feel confident with one. It's specifically about choosing the right style of fringe rather than defaulting to the blunt version. A side-swept fringe, cut deliberately on a soft angle and blended gently into the rest of the surrounding hair rather than chopped in one straight, precise line, does something a blunt fringe simply cannot achieve on its own. It creates a soft, gentle diagonal line that draws the eye upward toward the cheekbone and outward toward the temple area, rather than pulling the eye straight across the forehead in one flat, static band. That diagonal visual movement is genuinely one of the simplest, most reliable tricks used in professional styling circles for creating a lifted, more youthful overall look, and it works beautifully on nearly every face shape imaginable when it's executed correctly by someone who understands the technique. The key detail to remember and communicate clearly is the blending itself. Ask your stylist specifically for a soft, gently blended edge along the fringe rather than one sharp, precise geometric line, since that soft transition between fringe and the rest of your hair is exactly what prevents the overall style from reading as heavy, dated, or severe against a mature face. Style number 3. The textured pixie with length on top. Now, I fully know that the word pixie alone might make some of you feel a little nervous or hesitant just hearing it, because the traditional very short, closely cropped pixie style is often exactly the kind of cut that can read as severe or overly harsh on a mature face if it isn't shaped thoughtfully with real consideration. But there's a specific, deliberate variation of this cut that does the complete opposite of what you might be imagining right now, and it's quietly become genuinely popular among women who want the convenience of short hair without the aging effects so many people mistakenly associate with going short in the first place. This particular version keeps noticeably more length retained specifically on top of the head, left long enough to be swept to one side, gently tousled, or styled with real texture and movement, while the sides and back of the head are kept considerably shorter and closer against the scalp. That extra retained length on top does something absolutely crucial for how the whole face reads. It creates genuine visual height at the crown of the head, and creating height at the crown is one of the single most effective, reliable techniques available for making an entire face appear lifted overall, almost instantly. Meanwhile, the shorter sides simultaneously keep the whole style from feeling heavy, bulky, or overwhelming, which is especially wonderful for women who genuinely want low-maintenance hair without any sacrifice in how youthful and lifted the overall look appears. The real secret here, the specific phrase to actually use with your stylist, is asking clearly for length to be retained specifically on top of the head, not simply requesting a generically shorter version of whatever style you already currently have. That one precise instruction changes the entire character and outcome of the cut from potentially severe and harsh to genuinely soft, lifted, and flattering. Style number 4. The shag with face framing pieces. And here it is, the style I promised you all the way back at the very beginning of this video, the one that experienced hairstylists quietly, almost secretively recommend to their favorite, most trusted, most style-savvy clients, and rarely bring up unprompted to anyone who doesn't specifically ask for something a little different from the usual suggestions. It's essentially a modern, updated take on the classic shag haircut, built around choppy, textured layers distributed throughout the entire head of hair, combined very deliberately with specific face framing pieces cut noticeably shorter around the cheeks and jaw area specifically. Here's why this particular combination is so quietly, genuinely powerful for a mature face specifically, and it's worth understanding both halves of this equation clearly. The choppy layers distributed throughout the hair create constant, natural movement and visual texture, which very effectively disguises any thinning, flatness, or lack of volume that naturally tends to develop with age over time, and it accomplishes this without requiring any additional volumizing products or extra styling time at all. The texture itself is doing the visual work for you throughout the entire day. But the real magic, the part that makes this style genuinely special, lies specifically in those carefully placed face framing pieces. Cut at deliberately varying lengths around the cheekbones and jaw specifically, they create soft, gently angled lines that actively draw attention and focus toward the cheekbones and eyes, which are genuinely the features most of us actually want to highlight and draw attention toward as we age, while simultaneously and gently drawing focus away from the jawline and neck area, which tend to be the specific areas so many women feel a bit more self-conscious about as the years pass. This is genuinely one of the single most flattering, versatile haircuts available to women over 60 today, and yet it rarely gets suggested as a default go-to option during a typical salon consultation, largely because it requires a stylist who genuinely understands exactly how and where to place those face framing pieces correctly, rather than simply cutting generic, evenly distributed layers throughout the entire head without any real consideration for face shape or framing. Alright, let's pause together here for just a moment, because we're roughly at the halfway point of today's video, and I genuinely want to check in with you properly before we continue. If style number 4 is the one that just caught your attention and got you thinking, comment below right now and let me know honestly, is this the specific style you're planning to bring up at your next salon appointment? I read every single comment on this channel personally, and it truly genuinely helps shape what topics we choose to cover in future videos. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now is a wonderful moment to do exactly that, especially since we still have 2 more styles coming up together, including one that works absolutely beautifully even if you've spent years carefully growing your hair out and aren't remotely ready to cut it short at all. And if this video has been genuinely useful and informative for you so far, a quick like helps tremendously, since it tells the platform to actively show this information to other women out there who need to hear it just as much as you needed to hear it today. Alright, let's settle back in comfortably and keep going together. We still have real meaningful ground left to cover. Style number 5. Long layers with a curtain parting. For the many women who simply are not ready to cut away their length, and I want to be completely clear, there is absolutely nothing wrong whatsoever with choosing to keep longer hair at 60 or well beyond. This next style proves conclusively that you genuinely don't need to sacrifice length in order to avoid the aging effect of that problem cut we discussed together earlier in this video. This particular style keeps the overall hair notably long, exactly as you likely already prefer, but thoughtfully introduces long, soft layers distributed throughout, combined with a gentle curtain-style parting that softly frames both sides of the face simultaneously. The curtain parting detail is genuinely the key element here, so let's spend a moment really understanding it properly. Rather than one hard, precisely centered part with hair falling completely flat and straight down each side of the face in 2 rigid sheets, a slightly softer, gently off-center part allows small pieces of hair to fall naturally forward around the temples and cheekbone area on each side. That gentle natural framing does a genuinely wonderful job of softening the entire face, particularly around the delicate eye area, without requiring any change whatsoever to your overall hair length. Combine thoughtfully with long, soft layers distributed throughout the length to prevent the hair from feeling heavy, flat, or overly weighted down. This particular style allows women who genuinely love their length, and there are so many of you watching who do, to keep it entirely intact and unchanged, while still successfully avoiding the visual heaviness that tends to quietly age the face when long hair is left completely uniform, unlayered, and untouched year after year. Style number 6. The cropped cut with soft side volume. Our 6th and final style today is specifically designed for women who genuinely want to go short, noticeably shorter even than most of the previous options we've discussed together so far, without ending up anywhere close to that rounded, uniform cut we began this entire video discussing. This particular version is cropped quite close at the back of the head and along the nape of the neck, but deliberately built with soft volume and just a bit of retained length specifically at the sides, particularly around the temple area and cheekbones. The reason this specific combination works so beautifully well together comes down entirely to balance. A genuinely very short cut at the back of the head and along the crown keeps the overall style authentically low maintenance and remarkably easy to manage day to day, which is exactly what so many women are actively looking for at this particular stage of life. But that carefully retained volume and slight length at the sides simultaneously prevents the harsh, overly severe look that a completely uniform short cut can sometimes unfortunately create. The soft volume specifically at the sides essentially performs the exact same job as the face framing pieces we discussed earlier in style number 4, gently softening the visual transition from hair to face rather than creating one hard, abrupt line running all the way around the entire head. If you genuinely love the overall idea of short hair but have always worried it might end up feeling too severe, harsh, or unintentionally masculine on you specifically, this particular combination is genuinely one of the very best options to bring up directly with your stylist, since it offers nearly all of the practical convenience of a very short haircut, while still carefully retaining the softness needed to keep a face looking lifted and youthful rather than harsh or aging. Let's bring everything we've covered together now, slowly and clearly, because I genuinely want this entire conversation to stick with you long after this video ends, not just entertain you for half an hour before fading from memory by tomorrow morning. Avoid the uniform, rounded, same-length all-around cut we discussed at the very start, since it echoes exactly the natural softness already present in a mature face rather than offering any helpful contrast or structure. Instead, seriously consider a long bob built with hidden internal layers for genuine movement, a side-swept fringe rather than a blunt one specifically for that subtle lifting diagonal line, a textured pixie with deliberate length left on top for real height and lift at the crown, a modern shag cut with carefully placed face framing pieces to highlight your cheekbones and eyes, long layers paired with a soft curtain parting if you want to keep your length exactly as it is, or a cropped cut with soft side volume if you want genuinely short hair without any unwanted severity. None of these 6 thoughtful alternatives require you to sacrifice low maintenance, easy daily styling, and none of them require expensive, frequent ongoing salon visits beyond whatever normal cutting schedule you already maintain. They simply require walking confidently into that next salon appointment with the right language, the right questions, and a genuine understanding of what actually creates a lifted, youthful silhouette, rather than leaving that entire important decision passively in the hands of whoever happens to be holding the scissors that particular day. If this video genuinely changed the way you think about your next haircut appointment, that is exactly why I make these videos in the first place every single week for women exactly like you. So before you go, please do me one more favor. Like this video so more women your age can discover it too, the same way you just did today. Drop a comment below telling me honestly which of these 6 styles you're most drawn to and considering trying. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, now truly is the perfect time to do so, because next week we're covering another simple, thoughtful choice that quietly changes how youthful you look, without costing you a single extra penny beyond what you're likely already spending. Thank you so much, genuinely, for spending this entire half hour with me today. I know your time is valuable, and I never take it lightly that you chose to spend it here with me. Whatever you ultimately decide to do with your hair next, you deserve to walk out of that salon chair feeling exactly as beautiful, confident, and lifted as you already truly are. And I will see you warmly in the very next one.